It's all about the control and the pressure of how much batter comes out and knowing when to pull away. Hey you guys, let's make heart-shaped macarons with a little marble twist to them. In this video, I'm going to show you how to divide your batter so you can have this nice little marble effect. If you're new to making macarons, be sure to first check out my macaron tips and tricks video that's helped so many people make perfect and delicious shells every single time. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I love sharing my baking tips and recipes with you all. So without further ado, let's dive into this. Okay, so before I begin, I like to make sure my pans and silicone mats are ready. You can use parchment paper too if that's what you have on hand. So as you can see here, I printed out 2 sheets of a heart-shaped template and I've placed it underneath my silicone mat. You can Google Macaron heart template and easily find one you prefer. So I'm going to run through my recipe, but like I said, if you want a more detailed version on how to get perfect shells, head to my first macaron video that has all the tips you need to know. So first thing is to remove the grease. I'm using vinegar here and I'm just going to wipe all the tools and bowls. Next, I'm going to prep my egg whites using a food scale. Since these came out of the fridge, I need to get them to room temperature, so I'm going to pop them in the microwave in 5-second intervals, mixing in between. I usually only have to do this in 2 rounds. You don't want to cook your eggs, so be careful with this step. Now it's time to prep the sugar. I'm going to measure out the sugar, which will be slowly added to our whipping meringue later on. I'm setting both the egg whites and sugar aside, and now it's time to measure out the dry ingredients. I'm measuring right into the sifter here with a bowl underneath. This just makes things so much easier, and I have a small plastic cake scraper to help me sift the almond flour into the bowl. If you don't have a plastic cake scraper, you can also use the bottom of a glass cup instead. You'll be left with some chunks, so you can throw that out. We want our macaron shells to be as smooth as possible. Okay, so right into the sifter again, we are going to measure the powdered sugar and using the plastic cake scraper to sift that through. I'm going to mix both ingredients together, and to sift this a few times, I like to put the mixture onto a large piece of parchment paper and scooping the mixture into the sifter. I suggest doing this at least 3 times to get that smooth consistency and smooth shells. With each pass through the sifter, you'll see some chunks, so you can simply discard them. Alright, so now it's time to make the meringue, so I'm going to put the egg whites into my mixing bowl with the whisk attachment on. We're going to start off at medium-low speed. After 2 minutes, it should be bubbly like this. And this is optional, but you can add some cream of tartar, which helps to stabilize the egg whites. Continue mixing for a few minutes, and I'm going to show you how you know when it's time to add the sugar. So you can see here that while it's mixing, you can still see parts of the egg whites that are not foamy yet. To me, this means that the egg whites may not have enough strength yet to take in the sugar. After a few minutes, you'll see that the egg whites are completely foamy. This is when I start to add my sugar, 1 tablespoon at a time. Okay, all my sugar is in now, so I'm going to increase the speed to high. I'm going to let this mix for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, check in on the meringue, and if you're seeing peaks pointing up like this, it's ready. If you see it curving, whip it for another few seconds and check again. Okay, so now I'm coloring my meringue. I wanted a light pink and a darker pink for this marble effect. I didn't have pink food coloring on hand, so I'm just going to use this red coloring from Americolor. I just added 1 big drop and it's going to color it pretty quickly, so I'm just going to let it mix for a few seconds. Now I'm going to add the sifted dry ingredients. I don't want to deflate it just yet. We want to combine everything first by swirling the mixture around until it's evenly distributed. I'm starting off with a light pink here, and you'll see I'll be dividing it later on to create a darker pink. So you'll see here the ingredients are pretty evenly combined. This is when I'm going to deflate it a bit before I divide it. Okay, so now I'm going to take about half of the mixture and put it into a separate bowl, and I'm going to add more food coloring to deepen that pink color. So as I deflate, the color is going to mix with the batter. Also, definitely use gel food coloring because it's more concentrated. I'm going to keep deflating this until I get that ribbon-like flow. So I'm going to start deflating the light pink mixture. As I've said in my other tips and tricks video, it's better to undermix than overmix, so definitely stop deflating if you're unsure. Okay, so both of my batters are ready to be piped. To achieve that marble effect, I'm going to simply alternate adding both colors into my piping bag. I have my silicone mat and heart-shaped stencils prepared, so for each shell, I'm going to pipe one side of the heart first, then pipe the other side. To be honest, it can take a few tries getting used to piping hearts. It's all about controlling how much batter comes out, the pressure you're putting on the piping bag, and knowing when to pull away. Start off slowly so you can get to know the flow of the batter, and don't squeeze the piping bag too hard. As you can also see, after I piped a row or two, I took a toothpick to smooth out the top a bit, and I like to fix the shape as well, but keep in mind you don't want to swirl it too much. Remember, you spent all that time getting a ribbon-like flow, so you don't want to mess with the consistency too much and overmix it. Don't forget to drop the tray onto the table a couple of times to remove any air bubbles. This also helps to smooth out the top of the shells. Okay, so another important thing to remember, don't forget to remove the paper stencil underneath the silicone mat or parchment paper. I've had a few instances where I would almost put it in the oven, but yeah, I don't think regular paper belongs in the oven. It just doesn't sound safe. Be sure to remove this before baking. So now it's time to let your macarons rest so they can form that thin, dry surface. I usually let it rest for 45 minutes to 1 hour. I like to make sure the room temperature in the area is cool. The less humidity, the better. Okay, so into the oven it goes. I'm baking these at 310 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes and let them cool for at least 10 minutes before removing the shells from the pan. But here they are. You can see the nice light marbling detail. These are beautiful as is, but you know me, I love that glamorous look, so I like to decorate my macarons with gold splatter and of course edible gold leaf. If you give my recipe a try, be sure to let me know how it turns out. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.